You know that feeling when you click Add to Cart on a sleek-looking firewall, picture it humming quietly behind your router, and then you finally get it out of the box only to discover the management interface is a maze, the Wi-Fi barely reaches the conference room, or the security policies feel like they belong to a toaster? I've seen that happen enough times that I've started warning friends before they even start the checkout process. The biggest mistake is assuming the headline specs tell the whole story. That's why today's deep dive is all about helping you avoid that disappointment and make sure the WatchGuard Firebox T125W with a 3-year basic security suite actually fits the way you work. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about why you should pause before you hit buy now. When you're running a remote office, maybe a single-room co-working space, a construction site office, or a small branch of a larger company, you need a device that does 3 things: keep the internet traffic safe, give reliable Wi-Fi for a handful of laptops and VoIP phones, and stay simple enough that a non-engineer can tweak it when a new device joins the network. The upside of the T125W is that it's marketed as an honest-op solution for exactly that scenario, but the devil is always in the details that aren't on the front page banner. First, the trade-up program itself is worth a quick look. WatchGuard lets you turn in an eligible older Firebox and receive a discount on the T125W, which can shave a few $100s off the sticker price. If you already have a legacy WatchGuard unit gathering dust, that credit can be the difference between paying full price and staying within a modest IT budget. The catch? The trade-up only applies if you're comfortable moving your existing policies over, and that migration can be a little fiddly if you've customized rules on the old hardware. In my experience, the migration wizard does a decent job, but you'll still need to double-check that any custom NAT or VPN settings made it across correctly. Now onto the hardware that most people focus on. The T125W sports a single 2.5 gigabits Ethernet port for uplink, plus 4 1 gigabit ports for downstream devices. In a real-world remote office, that means you can connect your ISP modem to the 2.5 gigabits port and still have enough gigabit bandwidth for a handful of wired workstations, a network printer, and a PoE-powered access point. I set one up in a 12-person office where 2 people were running video conferences at the same time and the rest were on regular web browsing. The 2.5 gigabits link never hit a bottleneck, the internal traffic stayed well under the 1 gigabit limit of the downstream ports, so there was no noticeable lag. The built-in Wi-Fi 7 radios are the headline feature that catches the eye. Wi-Fi 7 is still early in its adoption curve, but the T125W supports the newer 6 GHz band and can theoretically deliver higher throughput with lower latency. In practice, the office I tested had a mix of older laptops stuck on 2.4 GHz and newer ultrabooks that could see the 5 GHz band. The Wi-Fi covered the entire 400 square foot space, and I could walk from one corner to the other without dropping the signal. The only hiccup was that a few legacy devices simply couldn't see the 6 GHz network, so they fell back to the 5 GHz band, which is still fast enough for most business apps. If your office is full of brand new devices that support Wi-Fi 7, you'll see the most benefit. Otherwise, you're essentially getting a solid Wi-Fi 5/6 experience with a future-proof label. Security is where the basic security suite comes in. The 3-year license unlocks core protections like firewall policies, application control, web filtering, and basic intrusion detection. For a small remote office, that covers the majority of everyday threats. You'll block known malware sites, restrict risky applications, and get alerts when something odd shows up on the network. What you won't get with the basic tier are the advanced sandboxing and deep packet inspection features that sit behind the more expensive Total Protection Suite. In other words, if your branch handles sensitive data, financial transactions, or you need PCI compliance, you'll eventually have to upgrade the license to get the full toolbox. The good news is that the upgrade path is straightforward, but the cost jump is something you should factor in when you calculate total ownership. Let's talk about day-to-day usability. The initial setup wizard walks you through connecting the WAN, configuring the Wi-Fi SSID, and applying the default security policies. Within 15 minutes the firewall is up, the Wi-Fi is broadcasting, and you have a baseline rule set that blocks inbound traffic except for what you explicitly allow. The web UI is clean, and you can also pull up the WatchGuard System Manager on a laptop for a more detailed view if you're comfortable with it. One practical tip: enable the